Gotham Police. My name is Michael Holt, and I'm being attacked by...
Mr. Toad, if you would do the honor.
My pleasure. Boss, it's the bad guy.
It's Batman, Toad. Remember, respect our enemies.
Beware the Batman. Wow. This show was awesome, honestly. For those DC Batman fans who have not had the pleasure of watching this show, I would highly recommend it. This is a really good Batman show. For those who have seen it, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Why or why not? But for now, I'm gonna tell you why I like it. So this show came out around the 2013-14 era, I believe, which is really surprising because if you know me, my personal opinion is that every cartoon show from 2010 on up to today is trash, basically. They're nothing like how they were in the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Cartoons now has lost what it had. It's ridiculously silly. Most of the ones that I've seen seem like they all have that Family Guy style animation. There's no seriousness, there's no character development, no characterization. There's a bunch of LGBTQ gay crap, like in Arthur. It's just trash. So when I heard about this show in 2013, I didn't have high hopes. With good reason. I hope you can see why. This show was really good. But the reason why I didn't have high hopes is because the show that preceded this one, which was Batman the Brave and the Bold. This fresh take on Batman was a swing and a miss. You know how they say bullcrap runs downhill? Well, when I see something like this is bullcrap. And to me, it's only going to get worse from here. The more it keeps rolling. When I see something like this kind of take on Batman, anything coming after can't be good. Looking back, you can really see when cartoons were good. They don't make them like this anymore. They don't. Kids these days will never know what Kids WB is. They'll never know what it was like waking up on Saturday morning to watch these cool kind of cartoons. And I hate to sound nostalgic, I really do, but I mean, let's face it. The things we grew up with, the cartoons we grew up with, are just better than how they are now. I'm sorry if I like the 90s and the early 2000s shows a little bit better than this show. To me, or these new shows, to me, the original Batman series was much better than the Brave and the Bold.
Hey, Dick. How you doing?
Fine.
Sorry I haven't been around. I forget how big and lonely this place can be.
That's okay.
As it turns out, I may have some free time starting tomorrow. How'd you like to catch the Gotham Knights season opener? Box seats.
Great.
I know it must be very difficult.
If only I could have stopped him. I saw him coming out of the tent. I knew he didn't belong there.
I know. You keep thinking, if only I'd done something differently. If only I could have warned them. But there isn't anything you could have done. There isn't anything either of us could have done.
Your mom and dad? Does the hurt ever go away?
I wish I could say yes. But it will get better in time. For you. That I promise.
He cannot be a part of me. Batman does not eat nachos!
Yeah, it's sad to think about what we used to have and what we have now. Anyways, one thing that makes a great Batman show is the drama of it. Batman is a very dramatic character. He's an operatic character. He's a grand character. He's the archetypical hero. So having the right element of drama and tone is key when you're doing a Batman show. I think that's one thing the Brave and the Bold lacked. They had it, but it was silly. This is a much more serious take on it, and it's really mimics a lot in the animated series. For instance, just the pilot. This is a few clips from the pilot, a few minutes from the pilot. It starts out with Batman doing what he does best, just catching common thugs. And the way the music is, the way the background is, even Batman himself coming out of the shadows and the smoke, it sets the tone, the element of drama. It sets it up for how this series is going to be. And that's one thing that I liked about this show. As far as the CGI goes, you know, I really don't think about that when watching a Batman. Thinking about Batman, you don't think about CGI graphics like this, but it actually honestly works. I believe the same guy who did the Green Lantern show with those CGI graphics did this show. And it's kind of surprising because that Green Lantern show was not popular at all, but it had more seasons. So I'm a little confused because this show had less seasons. It ran for 2 seasons, but it really made those 2 seasons count because, in my opinion, I believe every episode was good. But it had less seasons, which was a little disappointing and a little confusing. Another thing that's really good about this show is that this is Batman like you've never seen him before. This is a Batman show that you've never seen before. This show does not have the Joker in it, doesn't have the Penguin, doesn't have any of the traditional Batman characters that you think. And I like that idea because it's so refreshing to see a new Batman series without those same recycled characters. This is one of my favorite guys right here, Laszlo Valentine, Professor Pig. This version of him is a serious departure from the comics. He's not the bloody, murderous psychopath that we know. In this series, he's a psychopath, but he is much funnier, and I enjoy him in this series, and I'm glad they went with him instead of recycling the Penguin yet again.
That was rude. As a physician, Batman, I worry about your violent outbursts. Rage is a common cause of hypertension, you know. Perhaps we should give your heart a quick stress test, just to be safe.
I think it's a good idea that they did that, because Batman has a large rogues gallery of villains, and there are a lot of villains that don't usually get used in cartoons and movies. But in this show, they do use a lot of them. Another one is Tobias Well. Again, serious departure from the comics, but in this show, he makes it work. I like this version of him.
I ain't armed. Just want to talk. Fools you just left can beat each other all they want. I ain't interested in taking orders from no out-of-towner. Dig?
No, I don't. Dig.
Ra's al Ghul wants your hide, and he offers what? A piece of my city? Ain't his to give, baby. I'm guessing you feel the same, so I figure any enemy of my enemy is someone I can party with. Dig me now?
Now, no series is without its flaw, including this show. For all the good elements about this show does have some mistakes. And one of those mistakes is using the lesser-known Batman villains. The C-list and D-list characters. For instance, one of the characters they use in this show is called Magpie. Not well known. She's in the comics, but she's not well known. This series completely redesigned her, made her different. But I feel like they could have just used Catwoman instead. This episode in particular that Magpie is in reminds me of an early episode from the original early 2000s animated series called The Batman, where it really mimics Catwoman. So I feel like D-list characters, some D-list characters are D-list for a reason, and she is one of those people.
gonna happen.
What's the matter, bad boy? Too much bird for you to handle? Too bad. I was looking forward to getting my hands on that shiny, shiny belt.
Too bad about the statue.
Win some, lose some. Just glad you and I got to dance. We have so much in common.
Less than you think.
That's not what they think.
What? You got your belt.
Most of it.
You sure know how to spoil a girl.
I guess I'm just too used to it. I just feel that some of the characters and villains in this show could have been swapped out for those different traditional A-list characters that we're used to. But I see what they were trying to do, and in most cases they made it work. The villains in this show really mirror what Batman could become if he forgot his moral code. And they don't feel like they're pushed into us. They feel natural with this particular show. And while there are a lot of big changes in new characters and new players, we do see a lot of familiar faces, and it's definitely a welcome return. They feel natural with the show.
Don't much like formalities. Call me Killer Croc. Got that name on account of my good looks. It fits. Kind of you to say so.
Why don't you go get yourself a donut, Dombrowski?
Yeah, the wife says I gotta cut back.
Then only get a half a dozen this time.
Hey, yeah.
Even when I know you're coming, I still can't get used to that. Right. Well, I got something you should take a look at. We found him wandering the streets. Kept mumbling something over and over.
Cypher.
That's it. Cypher. Thought it sounded like one of your costumed friends.
As far as other characters, they stay true to their nature, but they are tweaked a bit for this show, and it never feels like it's impressed upon us. It always feels natural to this show. Sort of like how they did Alfred. Alfred in this show is a former MI6 agent who has an apprentice named Tatsu Yamashiro, and I kind of feel like she would be this show's version of Batgirl or Robin. This is Bruce's sidekick in this show. And it feels natural in the series. It feels like it would go with this. And as the series expands, we learn more about Alfred's background and a lot more about Tatsu's background. So these two characters have character arc just like Bruce Wayne. How they do these two characters is really great because it makes it to where it fits in the show and it plays a big part in this show. You really have to watch every episode to understand what's going on. You can't just jump in anytime you want, or you won't get it.
You're alive.
You two know each other?
Not now. Stay behind me.
I don't know, he looks tough. Maybe I should help.
You will die for your betrayal.
I'll be back here if you need me.
Handclaws, Silver Monkey? I thought you felt such weapons were without honor.
Do not speak of honor. Traitor!
The ones that can dodge bullets are always a bother.
Shall we?
I also like how they handle the detective side of Batman and Bruce Wayne in this series. I mean, he's called the world's greatest detective for a reason. It's not always about the fighting. So they really explore that a lot in this series. And they give this version of Bruce Wayne a little bit more personality than they do in other Batman medias, which I also really like. We get to see Bruce really grows at this series, and as each episode continues, which is really nice. We get to see him at his lowest points, even when Alfred leaves him, how Batman kind of deteriorates. And with each episode, he grows darker and darker because he doesn't have Alfred there to support him. Don't worry, though, Alfred does come back. But it's just something that's never really explored in other Batman shows before. We get a bit more personality with him there, so I also think that's really nice.
Perhaps it's time to take a break. Get out of the cave. Get some sunlight. See friends.
I only have one real friend. And even you chose to walk away from me.
You are not the reason I left.
Are we going to talk about that? You disappeared for almost 8 months.
But I came back when you needed me, as promised. I will tell you where I was, what I was doing in time. But right now, we should be more concerned with you. And Batman.
I'm afraid, Alfred. Afraid of what might happen if I put the suit back on.
Then don't. Let Katana look after Gotham. And let Bruce Wayne enjoy his life. I'm sure there's someone who'd like to pal around with a billionaire.
If you're a little nostalgic and you're looking for a more traditional style Batman show, then this show probably isn't for you because it's not traditional at all. Not everybody can do Batman right. Some people suck at it and it should never done in the first place. However, if you want something a little bit more different, a little bit fresh, and a little bit more new, then I would highly recommend this show.
I am Ra's al Ghul. I come seeking help with a problem I believe you're all familiar with. Batman.